Welcome back to The Psichologist, where intuition meets investigations. My name is Marie St. Louis. I am a clairvoyant and medium, and for many years I've worked quietly behind the scenes on missing persons cases and cold cases. This episode is presented for discussion, commentary, and entertainment purposes only. Psychic impressions and AI-assisted geographical summaries are not evidence. Before we begin, this episode discusses the disappearance and death of Kada Scott and may be upsetting to some listeners. Today's episode is about Kada Scott, a 23-year-old Philadelphia woman whose disappearance and death deeply affected her family, her community, and everyone who continues to seek justice in her name. Before discussing the case timeline or my psychic impressions, I want to remember who Kada was. She earned a degree in communications from Pennsylvania State University. In August 2025, she competed in the Miss Pennsylvania USA pageant as Miss Philadelphia Township USA 2025. She was ambitious, creative, and interested in fashion, entrepreneurship, public service, and pageantry. She was described as hardworking, ambitious young woman who was passionate about helping others and had dreams for her future. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Kada confided in family members that she had been receiving harassing and disturbing telephone calls. On Saturday, October 4th, 2025, at approximately 9:45 p.m., Kada left home for her 10 o'clock p.m. overnight shift at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill. Court records later revealed that Kada had been communicating with Keon King. At 10:07 p.m., Kada reportedly texted, "Kidnap me again." According to court documents, King replied, "Better be up to." At 10:09 p.m., Kada sent another message, "CM when you hear," meaning call me when you're here. I mentioned Keon King because he was publicly identified and charged in this case. He remains presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. A co-worker later testified that Kada received a telephone call shortly after arriving for work. She appeared upset and frightened and was heard saying words to the effect of, "I can't believe you're calling me." Kada stepped outside and walked toward a dark-colored vehicle. Cell phone data reportedly placed Kada's phone and King's phone together near her workplace at approximately 10:15 p.m. At 10:24 p.m., Kada's phone stopped making network contact. 4 minutes later, surveillance video showed a dark-colored vehicle, believed by investigators to be the stolen black Hyundai Accent, entering the Awbury Recreation Center parking lot. The vehicle Kada had driven to work remained in the employee parking lot. This was the last known sighting of Kada alive. Kada was reportedly missing on October 5th. Investigators followed cell phone and surveillance evidence toward the Awbury area. Prosecutors later alleged that two people moved a heavy object consistent with a human body toward the area where Kada was eventually recovered. The Hyundai was later burned and reportedly compacted before investigators traced it. I had not reviewed those later details when I documented my original psychic impressions. On Saturday, October 11, 2025, I submitted my psychic impressions and an AI summary to an agency connected to the case. My starting point was Kada's last known location, the Terrace at Chestnut Hill. I did not begin by studying detailed maps or searching for possible recovery sites. Among the original phrases I submitted were, now stay with me as I read this list, across from a school, old or former school or library, wooded area, concealment, a bunch of houses, a neighborhood, a location that is familiar to most people nearby, dog and search teams, waiting near my car, placed in a darkened space in car, and tennis court or basketball park. I also felt there was a telephone, social media, or online connection between Kada and the person involved. However, the strongest part of the October 11th submission did not come through as a group of unrelated words. It unfolded as one continuous vision. I saw myself standing outside an extremely large public building. It appeared old, vacant, or abandoned. I could not determine whether it had once been a school or public library. I then felt myself moving toward the back of the building. Behind it, I saw a large area of old, cracked concrete. Weeds and dandelions were growing through the cracks. The entire area felt neglected, as though it had not been properly maintained or used for some time. I felt that the concrete had once been part of a basketball court. Then I saw an old, broken-down basketball hoop. I continued moving farther behind the building. Beyond the cracked concrete was a small wooded area. Inside those woods stood a large tree. As I moved closer to the tree, I saw a heavy, old, rusted chain and a lock wrapped around its trunk. Then I looked downward. I saw dirt, patches of weeds, overgrowth on the ground, and the feeling of concealment. At that exact moment, the vision stopped abruptly. Now place that October 11th vision beside what investigators later discovered. I saw an extremely large, old, or abandoned public building. Kada was recovered behind the vacant Ada H.H. Lewis Middle School, a former public school that had been closed for years. I saw myself moving towards the back of the building. Kada's recovery site was located in the wooded property behind the former school. I saw cracked concrete, weeds, and the remains of an old basketball area. The school property stood beside Awbury Recreation Center, a public recreational property with basketball courts, tennis courts, and athletic grounds. I moved beyond the developed area and entered the woods. Kada was found in a wooded area. I looked downward and saw dirt, weeds, overgrowth on the ground, and concealment. Investigators found Kada concealed beneath disturbed earth in a shallow grave. The exact broken basketball hoop from my vision has not been publicly confirmed. Neither has the chained tree or rusty lock, which I believe it was symbolic. I cannot confirm that Kada was located besides one particular tree, and I will not force those details and present them as confirmed facts. My October 11th submission contained additional impressions. I wrote dog and search teams. Police and K-9 units had already conducted search activity in the Awbury area before my October 11th submission. Because some search information was already public, I do not count the phrase dog and search teams as a later validation. It remains part of my original timestamp notes. I also wrote about a telephone, social media, or online connection. Reports state that Kada had been receiving disturbing telephone calls were already public before my submission. However, later court records revealed one specific evidence involving repeated calls and text messages between Kada and King. I consider that a partial comparison to the communication component of the psychic impression, not a completely unknown later validation. I found no public confirmation that a friends list, social media post, or online comment specifically identified the person involved, so I don't claim that portion is validated. I wrote, waiting near my car. A coworker later described Kada stepping outside and walking toward a dark-colored vehicle shortly after she arrived for work. Then there was the most disturbing line, placed in a darkened space in car. Prosecutors later alleged that Kada's body remained inside the stolen black Hyundai Accent near the school and recreation center for more than 30 hours. That later allegation proves a specific comparison to the vehicle impression. I also recorded wooded area, downward slope, water, drains, hidden spaces, a bunch of houses, a neighborhood, and a location that is familiar to most people nearby. Kada was recovered in woods behind a former neighborhood school, beside a familiar community recreation center. That surrounding property is bordered by residential streets. The precise recovery point has not been publicly described in enough details to confirm a downward slope, drain, or water feature. However, the larger Awbury environment contains rolling terrain, woods, wetlands, watercourses, and ponds. I considered those broader environmental comparisons, not exact gravesite validations. The October 11th impressions also contained my first AI geographical summary. The AI suggested examining old schools or libraries, bridges, parks, wooded slopes, water and drainage features, surveillance cameras, and locations approximately 1 to 3 miles from Kada's workplace. Not every AI suggestion proved meaningful. AI-assisted summaries are not evidence. Their purpose is to organize my impressions and compare them with geographical features after the psychic work has been completed. At 1:11 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, I submitted my psychic impressions and AI to an agency connected to the case. The second submission contained new psychic impressions and another AI geographical comparison. By then, Keon King's name had been publicly connected to the investigation. My October 15th impressions included, now stay with me again as I read this list, School 059, Sickler, along the bike path, near pond, car traffic attack, old Sears Roebuck building, jealousy, promotion, Catholic Church, St. Anne or St. Anthune, bike path 078, golf course, Madrock, and Fox or Foxworth CCTV. After documenting these phrases, I used AI to compare them with locations throughout the Awbury, Arboretum, Germantown, and Chestnut Hill corridor. The AI focused on Awbury because the property contains walking routes, wooded grounds, ponds, and wetland habitat. That created a broader environmental overlap with along the bike path, near pond, and the wooded terrain from my first submission. I want to be precise. Kada was not reported as being found beside a pond or directly on an arboretum trail. Those impressions describe the broader environment, not the exact recovery point. The church impression produced an interesting phonetic comparison. I recorded St. Anthony and AI geographical review located a St. Athenaeus parish approximately 1.3 miles from the abandoned school. The names sound similar, but I found no public evidence connecting the church itself to Kada's disappearance or recovery. I leave its possible significance for listeners to decide. The October 15th AI summary also proposed possible comparisons for School 059, Sickler, the old Sears Roebuck building, the golf course wording, and Fox or Foxworth CCTV. The AI suggested Worcester Elementary as a possible comparison for the school number, possible Schuyler-related names for Sickler, an old Sears property in the Germantown area, the Wissahickon golf course, and possible surveillance locations near estates or recreational grounds. Those were AI-generated geographical possibilities. I have not found reliable evidence connecting those locations directly to Kada's disappearance or recovery. They should not be presented as confirmed validations. Also, on October 15, police announced King's arrest in connection with Kada's disappearance. Investigators searched along the vacant Ada H.H. Lewis Middle School and recovered personal items belonging to Kada, including her glasses, phone case, and bank card. Despite the extensive search, Kada was not located during this initial effort. On October 17th, authorities publicly stated that Kada remained missing and appealed to the community for information. Later, investigators received what police described as a very specific anonymous tip. Prosecutors said the message directed investigators to return to an area that had already been searched and look again because Kada was there. On October 18th, officers returned to the wooded grounds behind the vacant school. They discovered disturbed earth and a shallow grave containing human remains. DNA testing subsequently confirmed Kada's identity. I'm not claiming that my submission was the anonymous tip that led investigators directly to Kada. I'm presenting my original time-stamped records, my AI-assisted geographical summaries, and what was publicly discovered afterwards. You can decide whether these connections were just coincidences or something more. The Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office determined that Kada died from a gunshot wound to the head. Keon King has been charged with murder, kidnapping, robbery, arson, abuse of a corpse, conspiracy, and additional related offenses. On February 2nd, 2026, a judge ruled that the charges could proceed to trial. King's attorney stated that he intended to plead not guilty. King remains presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. Kada must be remembered for more than what happened to her. While Kada was missing, her family established a GoFundMe to support the search and provide a reward for credible information leading to her safe return. After Kada was recovered, the family changed the campaign to the Justice Memorial Fund for Kada Scott on November 18, 2025, what would have been Kada's 24th birthday. Her family announced the Kada Scott Foundation. The foundation supports young women through educational scholarships, creative business grants, mentorship, and community programs. Please check the episode description for all the important links. Kada was more than a missing persons flyer. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a young woman whose future should still be unfolding. Her family and loved ones deserve truth. As always, remember to LSS, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is The Psychologist, where intuition meets investigations.